Action.
Hi, I'm Susie and I'm from Westwood, Massachusetts, and I'm a huge Patriots fan. Today I'm going to be making my special New England Patriot clam chowder, and I think you're really going to like it. So we start by putting on a big pot, and we're going to put in our first ingredient, which is 4 tablespoons of butter, and I already have mine starting to melt right here. Next we're going to add about 1.5 onions. I like to use white, but you can use yellow is fine too. You're just going to put that right in there. This is going to give it a really nice flavor, a little bit of a bite, a little bit of a different consistency. Now, as I wait for that to brown up a little bit, to get nice and warm, I'm going to come right over here and I'm going to get 2 celery stalks. This stuff is great for any kind of soup, but particularly clam chowder. It's a wonderful little zest. It's a nice and healthy root vegetable too. I just want to dice it up a little bit, chunky. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just like that. It's also really nice to add in different things. This clam chowder does not have any pork in it. For people who are non-meat eaters, just like me, it's a great way to fill in a little flavor when you don't have that pork. Okay, now we're just going to throw this in too. Just make that all nice and warm. And we're also going to throw in a little bit of salt. This is up to you. You can flavor this as much as you want or as little as you want. I like to add a little salt then, and a little white pepper. I use white pepper. You can use black pepper. I like the taste of white pepper. It's a little different. It's not as sharp, and it blends a lot nicer with onions and celery sometimes. So again, we're just going to wait for that to get a little browned. And over here, I have a pretty large saucepan that has 2 bottles of clam juice. You can use any kind of variety, it doesn't matter. And I've put that in there, and it's just starting to boil right now. So we're going to turn it up. And this is the all-star of this dish. This is 4 pounds of clams. I like a lot of clams in my chowder, particularly if I'm going to host a big party. It's a lot more fun than just having kind of a naked chowder. This makes it nice and full. So I'm just going to pour that in there. And to warm it, and just season it a little bit with that clam juice. Oh, that looks good. Okay. And the other thing, I used fresh clams. That's pre-bought, but you can use frozen. It doesn't matter. They'll warm up real quickly in a pan. Just takes a couple more minutes. So whatever you have is great. Let's see how this is doing. Okay, we're just going to turn this up a little bit. And while that's still underway, I'm going to chop up some parsley. So this is, I got from my grocery store. I grow it in my garden in the summertime. It's awesome. It's particularly wonderful in this, but I put this stuff in every soup that I make. So all I'm going to do is really rough and take the stems off. I'm going to turn it around. I'm just going to chop it up. This pretty color makes it a nice, bright kind of Texan. See, if you see any little stems, just toss them. I'm going to turn it, give it another little chop. And that's starting to go. So, almost done here. So another little stem. And chop this. You just don't want to make sure that you don't have any huge, great big leaves in there, because that's not fun to eat. Most of this will break down too as it cooks. Next we're going to put in a little bit of flour. Now this is just to thicken it up a little bit. There's lots of ways to do this. I don't like to use a lot of flour. Just a little bit. Just chunks it up a little bit, gets it ready. This in general is not a really heavy chowder. Chowders in Boston vary from very thick to extra thick to thin. I like them all, but my little recipe here is it's a pretty thin sauce, which is great because it has a lot of vegetables in it, and it also, you have a bowl and you don't feel like you're gonna die after one, which is always a plus. Okay. So over here, I'm just gonna put my parsley. Next we're going to do is keep our eye on this. Oh, you don't want it to burn, but a nice little brown is always nice. Just like that. Okay, so now we're going to slowly add in, this is half and half. You can use anything you want. You can mix and match. You can use some half and half. You can use it with some milk, 2% milk if you like fewer calories, but I use a nice half and half. This is a half gallon. And I'll add this and just keep mixing this in. And check the clams, see how they're doing? They're doing good. Just enough to kind of cook them up. Okay, so that's going to sit for a minute, soak up some of that yummy taste. So over here I have my next ingredient. This is another big thing that people from Boston fight about, whether you're supposed to put white potato in or red potato. I like the red potato. I also think that you do not have to peel these potatoes. Don't make any more work than you have to. So what you're going to do is you're going to slice up this potato after you've cooked it or softened it in the inside. There's a million ways to do it. Be easy on yourself. All you have to do is take a potato, stab it a few times with a knife, throw it in the microwave, and cook it for maybe 4.5 minutes, just so that you're not throwing raw potato in there. And make it a little faster if you're entertaining guests and you don't want to be in front of the stove, or you have other decorating things to do. Just a little bit of a time saver. And I'm just going to roughly chop them. I like them to be not so big. I like the little cubes. Just easier to eat. A mouthful of. And what I'm going to do is, as I cook them, I'm just going to add these in. So we're going to dice. Put some more potato in. And what you're going to see is that the consistency gets thicker and thicker. And we'll start adding more and more half and half. You be careful that you don't cut yourself. These little pieces are devils. Just like this. And it's very important to make sure that you have a Patriots Day or Super Bowl dish that's kind of traditional. I make this all the time. The one year I didn't make it, the Patriots lost, so I'm very careful to always make this. And if you're from the area, 90% sure you're gonna love clam chowder. It's a food pleaser. I'm just gonna add some more half and half. Keep stirring. Some more potato. I used 4 potatoes. Again, it's up to you. I like to have a spoonful that packs like a huge punch. Some people don't. I think it's more fun to have more flavor in your mouth with every bite, but it's completely up to you. So the big thing about red potatoes or white potatoes are that they don't cook the same way. Actually, white potatoes will get softer quicker, I found, and red potatoes will hold their shape a little longer. And they also provide a nice little coloring, that pretty little red color that sometimes you see when you're using pork. You get that little sharp color, and you don't have to use pork for the color anyways, when you use a red potato, because you'll see that, and it's just a very pretty tint to add to the soup. Throw this in there. More. Every time I make this, people are pretty surprised about the flavoring in it, because it has a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of herb in it. There's a lot of veggies. Of course, there's a lot of clams, which are a necessity. I love to get my clams from Gloucester. I was born in Magnolia, born and raised in Boston. It's a great place to get your fish. And they have wonderful fishmongers in Gloucester as well. But again, anywhere you want to go. Grocery store is perfectly fine. Just make sure that these aren't too big. We have one more to go. There we go. Nice little sweet. I'm going to add in the half and half cream. And let's see, it's already coming along. It's already starting to get thick and yummy. The butter is looking beautiful. Nice and golden. Let's see. It's pretty. The other thing about clam chowder is that if you ever visit Boston, you've never been to Boston, you've got a pretty good chance of finding it in almost any restaurant you visit, particularly in the summertime. I think my favorites come from maybe the Union Oyster House in Boston. That's a great one. Legal Seafoods is great. And Kelly's Roast Beef has a wonderful clam chowder, and all the broths are different too, which is great. Everybody uses their own thing here. Okay, so this in. This is the last potato. And I'm just going to add a little bit of this. I'm just going to let it sit for a little bit. Medium heat. Okay, now we're going to add the parsley. I like to add this early on. I just like the flavor, how it cooks at a warmer heat. And it's very pretty again with that really pretty little burst of color. That's always a good sign you're eating something good when it's colorful. The next thing I'm going to do is, it looks like the clams are ready, so I'm going to shut off the heat. And I'm going to get my strainer. And I'm just going to very carefully strain the juice out. Which is nice. Some people boil it in water, which I guess is okay, but there's something about the extra flavoring of that clam juice that makes it more authentic. I'm just going to shake it out a little bit. And we're going to add that to the pot. So all those clams are coming out. Okay. I'm going to give it a nice stir. Look at that. Oh, wow. See, all that stuff is going on in there. And we're going to add the rest of the cream. I'm just going to stir it. Okay. So next, we're going to add another one of my favorites in the whole world. This is bay leaf. This is the greatest stuff ever. So I like maybe 2. I'm going to put in 3. The more you add, the bigger the flavor you're going to get. I really love bay leaf. It's wonderful. Some people use it, some don't. I do. The more herbs, the better. And I'm also going to add my all-time favorite, rosemary. You kind of think like, oh, you're going to add rosemary in there. You'd be surprised at the wonderful flavor that it gives to it. Nice and fresh. You can, again, add as much or as least as you want. I'm just going to give another sprinkle of salt. And you'll find that as you add different things, you're going to add less herbs or more salt, less salt, more pepper. It just depends on what your taste is. But all I'm going to do right now is leave it right there. And I'm gonna let it simmer for at least a half an hour, 40 minutes, till the veggies get all nice and crinkly and soak down to each other. And the soup will get thicker and thicker. It will get thicker and thicker as the soup cooks. So we're just gonna wait there. The other thing is that it's not such a bad idea to get a nice loaf of bread from a Stop and Shop, from Whole Foods, from anywhere you want to go. Here right now the big hit is Market Basket in Boston. You got to go to Market Basket. They have great breads. It helps to soak up the bread, and it will, even if it's a little bit hard, it will soften nicely. And it's also not such a bad thing to have around on Patriots Day when some people may be indulging just a little bit. It might be fun to just have a little bit of bread around just to make it a real meal. And that's it. That's my meal. So I hope you enjoy it. And go Pats!
Negative, serve it. No? They're going to edit it out. Don't worry about us talking.
Well, we have to wait for this to cook. So I guess the really good thing is if you're going to have a Super Bowl party, you can have a lot of fun with this stuff too. I got a football bowl that's wonderful to serve this in. So, I think it's ready now. Get a nice ladle. And add this all in. Oh, that looks so good. It smells unbelievable too. There's nothing more Boston, more Patriots game ready than a nice cup of clam chowder. So you can have, I like doing this, I like putting it in a nice fun bowl for everybody just to kind of get the little visual appeal. See, all that color is just coming out. You can see all that red and green and celery. Oh, it's beautiful. It's all coming together. So you put it on here like this. And then we have this, and we can just finish it off, of course, with a little fresh garnish. And there you go. There's your Super Bowl New England Patriots clam chowder. Go Pats!